And we're joined now by California Congressman Adam Schiff. He was among the prominent Democrats last week to publicly call on the president to drop out of the race. He is now throwing his support behind Vice President Harris, who's running for Senate in California as well. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning.
First, just your reaction to hearing this yesterday. Did you breathe a sigh of relief?
You know, I think we all felt immense gratitude to Joe Biden for doing what he has always done, which is consider what's in the best interest of the country and make his judgment accordingly. He has been just a phenomenal president, accomplishing more in a single term than most ever do. Rescued us from a deadly pandemic, put our economy back on a solid footing, and continued to work to make the economy work for everyone. And it's such a sharp contrast to the other party, which has elevated this convicted felon. People who have, panned Donald Trump and worried about his dictatorial ambitions, people like J.D. Vance, who have, sacrificed everything, not for the country or their party, but rather for their own personal ambition. So very sharp contrast, a lot of gratitude for Joe Biden, a lot of excitement about Vice President Harris.
Well, speaking of Republicans and Donald Trump, quick to react, saying if President Biden can't run for president, then maybe he shouldn't be serving as president. If you are sufficiently concerned that you came out publicly and said he shouldn't run, how do you justify him serving as president right now if he doesn't have the competence to run?
Well, my concern was whether he would be able to win, whether he'd be able to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. I have every confidence in his abilities as president and his ability to continue doing the remarkable job that he's doing. But I am very excited to throw my full support behind the vice president. I've seen her work as a prosecutor, as an attorney general, as a senator, as vice president. I'm very excited to work with her as president. I haven't seen this kind of excitement in the Democratic Party in quite a long time. People are really energized. I think young people who were sitting on the sidelines are now getting deeply engaged. This is an incredible matchup. We've got a former prosecutor running against a convicted felon. We've got someone in Vice President Harris with a record of integrity, with a record of success legislatively, and as vice president running against someone who ran our country into the ground.
Well,
and we love that contrast.
Okay, you love it. Let me show you the latest NBC poll about a week or so ago. Kamala Harris had the lowest favorability record, even behind Trump and Biden. Also, that same poll shows she performs about the same as Biden against Trump. Other polls show maybe she performs a little bit better. Does that concern you?
No, she hasn't been our candidate, and she will soon, I'm very confident, be our candidate. And I think things change dramatically. When you're the vice president, your job is to do things that the president doesn't want to do, and that's not a role that necessarily advances you in the polls. But I am very confident as people consolidate around the vice president, as she becomes our standard bearer, and as she said, she's going to win, she's going to earn and win this endorsement at the convention, then I think you're going to see those numbers change. And I have every confidence that she could beat Donald Trump, and I'm very excited about how quickly people are coming together to support her candidacy.
Do you think Democrats have something of a credibility problem with voters right now for delaying this issue, for not talking about the age and competence that you all came forward in recent days saying this is a problem, when voters have been expressing these worries for a long, long time?
Voters, I think, have been expressing concern over the age of both candidates for president. But we had a president and have a president, Joe Biden, who has done a phenomenal job. And I think what made this so challenging for Democrats is Joe Biden has been an historically successful president. He's a person of great decency. It was, very hard to suggest that someone else should now carry the torch because he's been such a good president. But I think that the contrast with Donald Trump and his patent unfitness for office couldn't be sharper. We saw this in the reaction that Donald Trump had to the decision of President Biden to step aside. Rather than, graciousness, as you would see from a normal human being, we saw just more vitriol, more bile from the former president. People don't want to see that kind of indecency, untruthfulness, back in the Oval Office. They don't want someone who can't tell right from wrong back in the Oval Office. And I think you're going to see just what a superb candidate for president Kamala Harris is,
Yep.
and I'm really excited to get that started.
A couple of things. Obviously, one of the first orders of business for Vice President Harris is to name a vice presidential running mate. Is that something you're hoping she'll do sooner rather than later? For example, in the next week or two, long before the convention?
I think we're all trying to digest what's happened in the last 24 hours. I haven't thought a lot about the timing for her selection of a vice president. I think that it is more important that she get it right, choose the best one, than it is to get it done more quickly. But I think what we're seeing in the consolidation of support around Kamala Harris is how much confidence the Democratic Party has in her and her ability to choose the right vice president. So I'm sure that that is an immediate and hot topic for her team right now. But I would give her the time and space to make the best judgment about that. It's wonderful to see these other powerful party leaders coalescing around her, including those that might have thrown their names in the ring. So I have confidence she'll make that judgment when she's ready.
And then finally, in these few moments that we have, when you step back and you look at the last few weeks, starting with former Speaker Pelosi going on cable and saying, we'll wait for the president's decision, when he had already decided and said, I'm in this race, to Leader Schumer's conversation going to Rehoboth Beach and showing him the polls, and that leaking out on the same day that you came forward, a close Pelosi ally, and announced you thought he should withdraw, the most prominent Democrat to do so. Frankly, it all had the feeling of a coordinated campaign. Was there a coordinated behind-the-scenes campaign to nudge the president out and make it more and more publicly uncomfortable for him to stay in?
Well, I certainly wasn't part of any coordinated campaign, and I don't think there was. I think you had individual leaders in the party looking at the polls, listening to people from battleground states and from battleground House districts, and increasingly concerned about the trajectory that we're on. It was hard for all of us, frankly, because we admire Joe Biden, we respect Joe Biden, and more than that, we just have tremendous affection for Joe Biden. He's a wonderful and decent human being. So this, I think, was hard for all of us in the party. But I can't say that I was part of any coordinated effort. I made my own judgment about what I thought was best in urging the president to consider, what he thought was the right direction for the country. And I think that Joe Biden wasn't going to be intimidated or pushed or anything else. He was going to make his decision when he was ready to make it. And once again, he did what he has always done through his lengthy, multi-decade career, and that is put country first.
Congressman Adam Schiff of California, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.